threw it back at me. But he kept various original pages. So, I'm sure he sent it over to his friends at Georgetown. He'd never seen that sort of pleading the way I did it. And as I do a pleading in which I use the classical English law in terms of a plaintiff and a defendant in contract law as two sovereigns, and you go with a petition before a representative of a king as an equal to get it heard. So there's a left and a right, and there's a whole structure of tradition which I knew about. I'd never used it, but since I was dealing with Georgetown, I used that format. And I'm sure it was unique in the way I did it. So that I'm not a corporate entity. I'm a living human being.
Yes.
I'm a sovereign. I created the Constitution. I created the federal government as an inheritance. And that, by God, they're there to do my service. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, they're fired. And you got to do it within 72 hours. So the point is, I did fire Obama on the 22nd of January through a specific, he offered 2 times the contract, and I returned it wishing no contract with him, and fired him 3 times. And that was duly served. They freaked out, and I'm talking about Holder freaked out.
Yes.
They came in as the corporate entity, as the hand in the corporate glove of the United States of America, and I had fired. He was there for 3 days, and he was out of there because he is now a usurper. This is a very strange structure that you can, when offered a contract, you can return it, wishing no contract. You have a right to do that. Unfortunately, the cattle in this country
don't know that.
They're not sovereigns, they're slaves, and it goes back to this whole thing with the Social Security and all the rest of being bonded as a slave. So as a corporate big letter person, not an essay person. And so anyway, I had so freaked out the Justice Department that they changed the attorneys, because what I had also done is asked for the various records from the United Kingdom with a FOIA. The United Kingdom has a FOIA set up, started in the mid-90s. So I did their FOIA, and they immediately got back to the Foreign Office and say, thank you, Mr. Strunk. We think we're going to send this over to the Home Office. Home Office, whoa. So I had asked for the seniors' records of entry-exit. I had asked for Obama's juniors' records, and I asked for Dunham's records, right? And Senior, of course, was already a British citizen, say, at the birth. And when Kenya came in 63, there was a reversion to a Kenyan republic citizenship, but in fact, he remained a citizen of the United Kingdom. So that after that, but again, the clause at birth is what were the parents' allegiances at birth.
Yes. On
August 4th, 1961, when Obama was born, whether it would be in a manger, in an embassy in Mombasa, in a hospital in Mombasa, or in one of the various 2 hospitals in Hawaii.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where he's born per se, because that is a conspiracy in itself, and he's created that as a snipe hunt. It's whether or not he has dual citizenship. He has already admitted in the Senate's Resolution 511 on McCain as to whether or not somebody's natural born when they are born of 2 citizens overseas or here. The Senate's opinion, because it's not a legitimate interpretation, is that Obama says you must have 2 citizens at birth in order to be naturally born. So he's admitted that in his vote. That he's admitted at the same time in his book in '95 that was ghostwritten by William Ayers. Hopes of My Father, or whatever it is that he was born of a father who was a British citizen. So he's living both sides of a bad legal structure. So he set out in order to stop litigation. I was the only one in the country withstanding through the FOIA case. They changed the attorneys. They get rid of them because they were the ones in the papers. The attorneys say he even went to England to find the information. He was complaining to this Jesuit judge, right? Oh, they disappeared. They're kicked out of there. This is the Jeffrey Taylor is the U.S. Attorney of the District of Columbia started the case, not the Attorney General. The Attorney General replaced the District Attorney, and they came in ham-handed, of course, without any word to me. I'm there not as an attorney. I'm there, and that whether you represent the defendants or not, you're still representing me because this is the United States government, and since I'm the sovereign, you come in without my permission to represent the Department of State. By God, I'm not going to permit that, so I fired them too. So, look, if this weren't so ridiculous, it just as a farce, if this weren't Monty Python, the search of the Holy Grail, it would be, like what's the guy on the program, the Stewart Show, the comedy show. But this is very serious stuff. The country has serious national security issues. Obama is being bombarded and extorted by the enemies of this country. He's being extorted from outside the border and inside the border, shaken down, and he's destroying your children's future.
If he has a backing of all these strong people, how can you say that?
This is not a country of men. This is a country of laws.
Yes.
And that either we have laws or we have a dictatorship. This man is Mussolini rerun combined with Hitler and Stalin together. This is what Pravda said the other day. He says, "How can you American people, you sheeple, roll over so quickly for this Marxist takeover?" And I don't see. Look, Marx adored as a Mason the Jesuit reductions in Paraguay in the 1600s. He used them as a model in Capital One. In other words, communism is based upon Jesuit reductions and the implementation of collectivism under their control. The Jesuits are at the heart of all communist doctrine, and Marx admits it. So when you call him a Marxist, you're not what you should be saying. He's a Jesuitical radical, and which he is. So here I've got the judge.
Yes.
So I take, he essentially says, "You're not allowed to do any more motions in my court." I said, "Well, fine." I took that up to the circuit, and I said, this guy doesn't even want to respond to a motion for his recusal. So I took it up there. They docketed that on the 12th of May. And it's been sitting there. It was duly served on the chief judge of district, on Leon, and they have to answer on the statute when there's an impropriety. When you've got the judge getting money from the very people that he's judging, how can that be? There's no impartiality. So circuit is very interested in that. At the same time as that the holders people said, "Oh, you can't get any information for Obama. He's the president." I says, "No, he's not. I fired him."
I should think you can get information about anyone under the FOIA.
Now, the point is, he got his official passport when he became a senator. I want to know the date he got it, and I want to know what previous passport it was. Was it an American passport? I believe it was Indonesian or Canadian, or maybe even British. You cannot travel to Pakistan. You cannot travel to Indonesia. In 1981, as a U.S. citizen, you couldn't get in. It was banned.
Interesting.
He went to a madrasa. He is a Muslim. He went to a madrasa as the adopted son